Welcome back, I'm Austin, and it's time for Warzone Versus, where we go over the stats in depth, then give my verdict on which gun is better, and give you the best class setups. Today we have the AK47 versus PPSH. These are the top two sniper support weapons in all of Warzone. It's time we figure out which one is the best. Going straight into the stats, the AK47 will have a much better max bullet velocity with 1180 compared to 710 for the PPSH. The PPSH clearly will not have a good bullet velocity, but when we use a sniper support weapon, we're only going to be using them out to 40 to 50 meters, and for that range, this bullet velocity isn't going to be a problem and is plenty good enough. And now if we move over onto the fire rate, we can see that the PPSH will be miles better with a 908 rounds per minute compared to 600. This is a great benefit to the PPSH because it makes the weapon much more forgiving if you miss a couple shots. The AK has a slow fire rate even for ARs, let alone comparing it to an SMG. All weapons do better when you aim well, but it's even more important on slow fire rate weapons, so you gotta make sure to hit your shots when using this AK47 for it to perform well. More bullets downstream is always going to be beneficial. Now let's see how much damage these weapons are going to do. This is where the AK starts to make its comeback, with its damage at close range being 40.5 compared to 27. And this advantage will get closer at long range, where it's 36 to 25. Now, if we look at a full damage breakdown, we're going to be looking at head, chest, stomach, and limb damage. We can see that these weapons have similar damage profiles, where these weapons will not have a damage drop-off from chest to stomach. However, the PPSH will give you a damage drop-off from stomach to limbs, where the AK47 will not. This is a decent advantage, but not an overwhelming one, because the best weapons in Warzone generally will have equal chest and stomach damage, because that gives you a big target area to get their optimal TTK. The limbs is a nice bonus, but not necessary for weapons to perform well. Both weapons are going to feel extremely consistent while having upside to lower their time to kills through headshots. This is a good recipe in Warzone. And now for the most likely time to kill at close range, it's going to go to the PPSH, but just barely, with 595 milliseconds compared to 600. The PPSH has the faster time to kill because of its superior fire rate, but the AK's time to kill is comparable because it only takes 7 shots to kill, while the PPSH will take 10. With the AK, you can hit any part of the body, and this includes hitting 7 shots to the pinky toe. You're still going to be getting that TTK. Where with the PPSH, it will require you to hit 7 of your 10 shots into the chest or stomach. Now, if you hit more than 3 shots to the limbs, I'm going to find your accuracy to be either really good or really bad, because the limbs is a much smaller target area than the torso. This is going to make both of these weapons feel very consistent up close, and the AK47 will have a little bit of an advantage because it's easier to lower its time to kill when you only need 2 headshots to lower it to 500 milliseconds, while the PPSH will need you to hit 3 headshots to lower its time to kill to 529. Going for headshots on the AK will be beneficial at close range because it's going to lower the TTK by 100 milliseconds and will make it kill faster than every SMG's base TTK. Hitting 2 headshots is very feasible, but if you can't do this effectively, it's better to just make sure that you're hitting your shots. Being accurate is always more important than going for the top time to kill, because missing shots will lower your TTK severely, especially on slow fire rate weapons like the AK. You gotta remember that these are just completely theoretical time to kills where you hit 100% of your shots. That is why fast fire rate weapons like the PPSH are more forgiving, because your next shot is gonna get to your opponent faster, meaning your TTK is less affected by missing shots when you have a high fire rate. And speaking of the PPSH, I wouldn't go for headshots at close range with this because it isn't worth the risk, because its TTK is less affected and you have to hit an extra headshot as well, which isn't easy to do past point blank range. And before we switch over to the long range time to kill, let's actually talk about the range of these weapons. The AK47 will of course have the better base range because it's an AR with 25 meters to the PPSH's 17.5. This range on the PPSH is actually one of the best for all SMGs, but the AK of course has the advantage here. And when we get to the best class setups, we are going to be bolstering these ranges to be even better than they already are. Moving to the long range TTK, the PPSH will once again have a better time to kill by a decent margin with 661 milliseconds to 700. To get this TTK, the PPSH will need you to hit 6 chest or stomach shots out of 11. Super easy to accomplish. The AK47 will take 8 shots to kill, and once again, anywhere on the body will make this work. Now, both weapons will take only 2 headshots to lower their time to kills back to their base TTK TTK up close, which is 595 for the PPSH and 600 for the AK. Going for headshots at these ranges is beneficial if you can control the recoil well. We will talk about the recoil shortly, but as I said, it's more important to hit your shots than try to obtain this lower TTK. I think it's easy to see that both weapons are going to feel super consistent and feel good. There is a reason that these are the top 2 sniper support options in all of Warzone. Moving over to accuracy, surprisingly, the PPSH is really easy to aim, it has a low vertical recoil, and it's super easy to control for average players. It's kind of weird that the SMG is more accurate than the AR in this situation because the AK has vertical and horizontal recoil, which automatically makes it more difficult to control. Vertical recoil by itself is the easiest to control, and then horizontal is a little bit more difficult, but if you add them together, it complicates this issue. Now the AK is still pretty easy to control at close to mid-range, where we will be using it in this type of setting. You might just need to use it a little bit before getting a hang of it. Weapons that are easy to aim with solid TTKs are popular, and that's why the PPSH has been popping up more and more within Warzone recently. Taking a look at damage per mag, the PPSH will come out ahead with a 1917 to 1823 advantage over the AK47. The PPSH wins because with my best class setup, it has a 71 round mag compared to 45 for the AK. This stat is more important the bigger the mode, making it the most influential when you get to quads, and this stat is even more crucial on sniper support weapons because you don't have a backup option up close if you run out of ammo in your clip. Now the good news is both these weapons have a good damage per mag and you shouldn't be having any problems with them. Most stats on these weapons are good and that's why they're both super popular. Switching over to close range damage per second, the PPSH will just be slightly better with 409 DPS to 405. Both of these are solid for up close options but shine because they're also good at range. Basically this just means that close range guns with no range, like guns like the Cold War MP5 or OTS that are only good up to 9 meters, are going to have more DPS up close, but these weapons are versatile, making them the best options for sniper support. Finally, moving on over to the movement stats, the PPSH is going to demolish the AK47 and everything with a faster ADS, strafe speed, sprint to fire, movement, and ADS movement. This is where the PPSH truly makes its case to be the top option because its movement, sprint to fire, and ADS are all super important stats for a weapon that you'll be using up close and sprinting around with. Moving faster lets you get from cover A to cover B. Sprint to fire lets you get your weapon up faster, and every millisecond will count in up close gunfights. And the PPSH sprint to fire cuts the AKs by more than half, and ADS will let you get on target faster, and the PPSH is 99 milliseconds faster there. Obviously, the PPSH is an SMG, so we could expect that its movement stats would be better, but the PPSH is actually one of the most mobile subs in the whole game, being the second most mobile SMG. That is a huge advantage, and the PPSH's calling card for being an elite sniper support, but the AK's movement stats are not bad if we're comparing it to other ARs. If this video has been helpful, make sure to like it and subscribe as well for more Warzone versus videos. Alright, I've given you all the relevant stats for these weapons, and it's time for my verdict. The PPSH. The AK47 is the most popular gun in all of Warzone, rightfully so because it is good in all situations, but I think the PPSH is just a little bit better if we're looking at it solely as a sniper support option. It has a slightly better TTK, better fire rate making it easier to use, better recoil, better damage per mag, and better movement by a mile. The AK-47 only has a better TTK from 17.5 meters to 25, and this is because its range is a little bit better. The PPSH is just going to be a superior weapon when you're using it within 40 to 50 meters. Now, some people might prefer the feel of the AK, and that's fine, but the stats do not lie, and the PPSH is clearly superior as a sniper support option. We're going to start with the AK-47 best sniper support class setup, and we're going to be trying to increase its range as well as making it more accurate and giving it better mobility. So to start with, we're going to do the Groove Suppressor. This gives us bullet velocity, damage range, and vertical recoil control. We're going to skip over the barrel, head all the way over to the optic. The Microflex LED is the perfect optic to be good at close range but still viable at mid, and so that's really what you're going to want to use on all sniper support weapons. Then we're going to move to the stock. We got to use this KGB skeletal stock because it gives us sprint to fire time, which is super key on any weapon you're going to be using up close, as well as ADS firing movement speed and aim walking movement speed. That's going to be good all around to make this thing a little bit bit more mobile. And then we go to the magazine. I hinted at this earlier that we're going to be using the 45 round mag instead of the 60 because the 60 will lower our ADS, which is already a little bit of an issue for up close with this gun, so we can't be lowering that at all. So we use the 45 round mag, which still gives us plenty of damage per mag. Then we go to the underbarrel, and we got to use the Spetsnaz grip because it helps us with the horizontal and vertical recoil, which this weapon has both of. So this is going to be your perfect AK47 Sniper Sport. Pretty mobile because we added the KGB skeletal stock, good bullet velocity, good range, and it's pretty accurate. This is going to be perfect. Now moving on to the PPSH Sniper Sport, the best option in all of Warzone, I believe, and we're going to be trying to increase its range the most, as well as make it the most accurate as it possibly can. We don't have to focus on making it any more mobile because it's already elite in that category. So we start with the Groove Suppressor just like last time. We get the bullet velocity up, which is important because this thing's base bullet velocity is very low, damage range and vertical recoil control. Then we move over to the barrel, which we're going to use this 15.7 task force because it gets our damage range up even more to get it closer to the AR's range, and we get more bullet velocity, so now it's going to be perfectly viable to use that to 40 to 50 meters, and we get some strafe speed. This will give us the con of a little bit more vertical and horizontal recoil, but we're going to be fixing that later. And as you heard last time, I think the Microflex LED is the perfect optic for all Sniper Sport weapons, on Cold War weapons at least. And then we go over to magazine. I hinted at this earlier that we're going to be using the 71 round mag. The ADS going down isn't great, but since it's already so elite, getting that damage per mag is super key on this weapon. And then when we go to the underbarrel, this is how we're going to fix that one thing lowering our vertical and horizontal recoil. This will remake it accurate. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but that's how I said it. This is your perfect Sniper Sport option, and if you want to know what sniper to use with it, I'll have a video linked right now, and I'll have a video linked to a different Sniper Support versus episode as well.